It feels like football. As of today, all 32 NFL organizations will have shown up for training camp. The final four showing up on this Wednesday, July 24th. The Atlanta Falcons, the Indianapolis Colts, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Dallas Cowboys. But when the Cowboys show up to camp in Oxnard, it will be notable for who is also not there. That's CeeDee Lamb, officially holding out from the start of training camp for Dallas. Unable, at least at this stage, to sign a contract extension before the fifth and final year of his rookie deal. CeeDee Lamb, without that big new contract that fellow first-round pick Justin Jefferson from the 2020 NFL Draft received, is not going to be at training camp, at least at the start. How concerned should Cowboys fans and backers be, DRS, that Lamb is not there?
I don't think they should really be concerned about that because I do think he's going to show up. But more of the concern of, again, the offseason strategy that was laid out by Jerry Jones. I'm not getting any younger. We are all in, and proceeds to do nothing but bungle the salary cap and not pay your best players. Where you can see the players say whatever they want. Now, CeeDee Lamb is taking a completely different approach than like Dak Prescott. Like Dak's like, you know what? I played down this route. The longer we wait, the more money I'm going to make. I'm fine with that. I'm a quarterback. I'm probably not going to have a career-ending injury. But for guys looking to strike gold like CeeDee Lamb, where so many wide receivers are doing that, I just can't understand what the Dallas Cowboys philosophy is. Because when you see Dak say, I'm fine with it, and even if any player says that, deep down, they're like, look, I just want what I'm worth. Like, give me the financial security and let me go into the season just focused on football itself. I don't want to get calls from my agent midweek saying, hey, here's the latest offer coming back. What do you think about this? I want to focus on game plan. I want to be with the boys out there. Like, I want to play football and don't have to worry about my financial constraints at this point. And this is what they're doing. Like, CeeDee Lamb, not sure. Like, is anybody in their right mind believe, like right now, like, what's CeeDee Lamb asking for? He wants to be paid like Justin Jefferson. Oh, you can't pay him, then let him sit out. Like, no, again, just the way the NFL financials work. It's the next man in line who's a really good football player is going to get that big paycheck. And I have no idea what they're doing in Dallas because theoretically, Ben, three guys that I said, let's just say nobody gets paid this year. They're all going to reset the market. You won't have enough money left over to pay the rest of your football team. But if you're paying these guys as you go and limiting the damage and saving yourself money, and also, how many times do we see this? Hey, Dak's worth $60 million against the cap here. Well, if you just restructured him and gave him a new contract, he'd be down to $10 million against the cap. CeeDee Lamb is going to count, what, $18 million against the cap. If you gave him $100 million in guarantees, he probably would count half of his cap number of what it is now. I have no idea what Jerry Jones is doing. CeeDee Lamb should be paid top dollar and be in camp and ready to go for this football season.
Absolutely so. Donnie is spot on how it has reached this stage and what could be on the other side of it all for the Cowboys is atrocious. CeeDee Lamb has every right to try to bargain for as many millions of dollars as Justin Jefferson. CeeDee Lamb is one of the 5 or 10 best wide receivers in all of the National Football League. CeeDee Lamb, like Jay Jett, was a first-round selection back in 2020, so he will be playing under the fifth and final year of his contract. There are 4 wide receivers currently that are set to make $30 million on an annual average basis starting this year. Justin Jefferson, the most of them all, the most ever in the history of the NFL for a non-quarterback at $35 million. A.J. Brown, a little bit more than $32 million. Amon-Ra St. Brown, more than 30, and Tyreek Hill at $30 million as well. CeeDee Lamb is somewhere in the middle of that group, at least being paid as one of the 5 highest paid wide receivers in the National Football League, but it has not happened at this moment. You'll see the numbers for CeeDee Lamb and what he has done in his first 4 years in the National Football League. They're outstanding and justified in terms of demanding that new contract. But, Donnie, here's why I'm concerned if I'm a Cowboys fan. We are trying to win, finally, to get past the division round, to even compete in an NFC title game. We do not need any off-the-field distractions in what should only be a hopeful and optimistic time. Because not only are you going to have to pay CeeDee Lamb, you have to pay Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons on the horizon at the end of this year, and you might be playing this season with your quarterback Dak, your top wide receiver CeeDee, and your head coach Mike McCarthy in the final year of their contract, where they might not be coming back at the end of 2024. Uncertain times for the Cowboys.
Exactly. And when you're on the field, you know you want to give it your all. Like, there's never really a time that NFL players technically are going to shut it down on the field themselves, but they can shut everything else down. And the reason I bring that up is if you're playing, like, Dak knows he's going to get probably $55+ million the minute he signs a new contract with the Cowboys or without the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb knows, like, if this season goes and, hey, I got a little hamstring injury in week 3, hey, if I shut this down, I'm going to be paid more money than any wide receiver in football next year. You take a look at Micah Parsons, who's actually playing the quarterback role, like, you know what? I'm not even going to be hostile this year because I know next year you're going to pay me probably what the Dallas Cowboys are worth, because that's what edge rushers go for at this point here. I just don't understand how it got to this point. It's terrible strategy. And also, when you see the rest of the league, and it's not as if you're operating like the Cincinnati Bengals, second smallest market or revenue team in the NFL. It's the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. They're worth more money than any franchise, not in the NFL, not in the United States, but in the world. What are we doing? And also, Jerry Jones isn't 31 years old going like, I got 60 more years on this planet to win a Super Bowl. I don't know what he's waiting for at this point.
The Cowboys have moved back in the market for whatever reasons, but a bad offseason at 8-1, tied for the fourth best price in the NFC. At an earlier point this offseason, they were plus 600, only behind the Niners and the Lions. They were the favorites to win the NFC East. The Eagles now in front of Dallas in both of those categories. 1,749 receiving yards for CeeDee Lamb in the 2023 NFL campaign. Second most in all of the NFL, only behind Tyreek Hill, and 12 receiving touchdowns as well. Pay the guy. It's as simple as that. But until that happens for Jerry Jones, CeeDee Lamb will not be in training camp in wine country in California, in Oxnard, California. We'll talk some more training camp as it is the final day of report day around the National Football League and what the Patriots are doing to start the post-Belichick era in Foxborough. Who's going to be the starting quarterback? We'll break it down for you up next. Training camp around the National Football League officially underway. It is the post-Belichick era in Foxborough. Gerard Mayo takes over as a rookie head coach for the Patriots. Will a rookie quarterback in Drake May, the third overall pick by New England in the 2024 NFL Draft, be the starter from week 1? That does not seem to be the case for the Patriots, at least here at this point entering training camp. Gerard Mayo saying this yesterday to media, quote, coming out of spring, I think it's clear Jacoby is the most pro-ready guy we have. Jacoby Brissett, who spent one season in New England and the many stops that he has made around the National Football League prior, back in New England, and is the starting quarterback as of this moment for the Pats. DRS, when week number 1 comes for New England, who do you think is under center to begin? Jacoby Brissett or Drake May?
Usually I'd say to myself, where did you draft that quarterback at? Oh, you drafted him top 5. I don't care what your team looks like or what your schedule looks like. You better have him out there. But then I take a deep breath and say, and I love to say this, and I'm sure everybody outside of New England loves it as well. Boy, isn't it nice that New England is one of the trash can teams of the NFL. 4 wins last year, team total light this year, and we're talking about coming into this year with Jacoby Brissett as my starting quarterback and absolutely no weapons. This team is going to stink out loud. So when we talk about unders, gameplay, yes, unders, because they won't be able to score many points. Team totals, probably looking at unders at this point, and it is an incredibly low number. But the fact that for 25 plus years it felt like New England was on the top of the pantheon here in the NFL, the top of the mountain, always fighting for championships, now the absolute bottom of the basement barrel, horrendous football team. I think we can all enjoy this now.
4.5, the win total for New England. Sure, the over has a little bit of the juice, but it is the lowest win total in all of the National Football League. The Patriots have the longest price in virtually everything. They have the longest price to win the AFC. Somehow just the second longest number to win Super Bowl 59. Behind or in front, I guess you could say, of Carolina. But the Panthers' win total is 5.5. They play in the weaker conference, and the over is juiced for the Panthers. New England is going to struggle. Again, like you, Donnie, I would say the era of a first-round quarterback pick, sitting on the bench, learning the ropes of the NFL behind a veteran, is long gone, especially if you're drafted in the top 15, the top 10, the top 5, the top 3. But for Drake May's case, let him sit. Don't put him out there to take the lumps on the fly and to have the fingers of blame pointed at him. The Patriots, not only the worst win total in the NFL, the second hardest schedule, according to our guy Warren Sharp and his team at Sharp Football Analytics. DRS, I've got a feeling that back in the mid-'90s, during your football playing days, there was a time that head was buzzed and the hair was bleached blonde. To be an Eminem guy, to be a Slim Shady guy, like Joe Burrow reporting to camp yesterday for Cincinnati.
Yes, and by the way, there was a time that also the short hair out there, the earrings in the ear. You had to take out the hoop earrings, Ben, before he went out to football practices. That was a kid. He couldn't lose any of the type of jewelry out on the field. But I understand Joe Burrow with that look. I don't know if I like it or don't like it at this point, but the one thing I do know is, hey, Joe Burrow, showing up to training camp. Why don't you support your wide receivers? I'm one of the wide receivers. Look, I get a pension each and every year for being a quality wide receiver. So I'm in the wide receiver union at this point, and I think we need to overthrow Joe Burrow. He's not looking out. He's not looking out for wide receivers. So I don't know if I can get down with the haircut or even his look at this point until he changes face.
Did not meet with the media yesterday on report day for the Bengals. Maybe today after their opening practice, we shall see. Guy's got time to buzz his hair and bleach it blonde, but can't stand up for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That's a Donnie bit. It is not mine. We only have a minute here until we get to our second hour. We'll have more time talking NFL stuff in hour number 2. But per the McNairs, the owners of the Houston Texans, there's a chance the NRG Stadium roof won't be fixed until a month into the season. His name's Bob McNair, right? The guy on the left wearing the hat and the mustache?
Yeah.
Never has a man benefited from money so much to earn the love of a spouse, as you will see in that photo right there.
And let me just get to, again, I don't understand. Apparently in the state of Texas, I don't think Texas doesn't have high school football, correct? Right, Ben? That it's too hot out, particularly in the fall month. Yeah, exactly. They don't play probably any baseball at all, I would assume, too. And so at this point, the fact that it's a big deal that the stadium, which, again, why is it even retractable? Can somebody help me out with that? If it's so hot down there, why did you waste hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer money on a retractable roof? Open the stadium. It's what you play in. You play in elements here. Oh, no, it's 90 degrees. We can't play. What are we doing in Houston? Weakest fan base out there.
Hour 2 up next. Welcome back to everybody here on this Wednesday on the early line. But really that was centered on the idea that the National Football League is back. Welcome back to everybody headed to training camp today. By the end of this afternoon, all 32 NFL clubs will have reported for training camp. Plenty to dive into here as we get you set for a new National Football League season, with the offseason coming to a close. DRS, we talked about the big storylines entering camp. Wide receiver position first and foremost. CeeDee Lamb unable to agree to a new contract with the Dallas Cowboys, at least as of this moment, holding out from training camp with the Cowboys. Will not report, as the Cowboys are one of the 4 final teams to show up to training camp today. Brandon Ayuk, though, despite not getting a new deal and offering in an official trade request to San Francisco last week, should be there for the 49ers.
Yeah, and also keep in mind, most of these players that want to assume they probably aren't on the precipice of getting paid, they're going to show up to camp. Why? It's $50,000 a day that you give up. Oh, these guys make millions. Well, rack up $100,000 in fines after 2 days, you're probably going to show up to camp. Now, if you are on the precipice of maybe getting a close deal that you just want to kick the team in the pants, like we're seeing maybe CeeDee Lamb doing, then you're probably going to get paid and you're okay to get those 50. And then again, the team does what, Ben? We'll waive those fines here. We'll pay them for it. It's not that big deal. Let's get back into camp. But the Brandon Ayuk one, again, it doesn't make sense to me. Let me just use this as like the Carolina Panthers. They traded Brian Burns in the offseason. Why? Because they were going to pay Brian Burns. Because if they paid Brian Burns, they go, I'm going to pay you $100 million, let's just say guaranteed money. We're going to stink anyway. Like, that's not a good return on your investment. But if you are a team that's looking to make a deep playoff push or believe you can win a Super Bowl, why are you messing with these players? Like, if the Cowboys think they can win without CeeDee Lamb, you're crazy about that. The same thing with Brandon Ayuk. He's a wonderful wide receiver and fits perfectly in that offense. Why are you not taking care of him? And also, it's what the player perception, what they perceive is too. Like, look at the 49ers. This offseason, they go, okay, hey, Christian McCaffrey, here's all the money you want here. Debo a year ago, Brandon Ayuk. Yeah, I don't really know if you're worth all that much at this point. That gets those guys, they see what actually goes on here. That's what gets them upset. If nobody was getting paid, like, hey, I just don't like this franchise and it's just the way they do business. But when you see your buddies getting paid and you're not getting paid, that sends you into the stratosphere. It's like, what do I have to do in order to get paid? Maybe just be a malcontent, and that never works out.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Donnie. And you have that expectation in both Dallas and San Francisco. The 49ers a co-favorite to win Super Bowl 59 with a team that has beat them in the big game in February. The Chiefs, 2 of the last 5 years. Dallas is always judged by Lombardi trophies or at least finally reaching the NFC title game. Not willing to invest in their best playmaker by a country mile. Very, very strange financial stuff in both Dallas and San Francisco. Maybe not so much for the 49ers, although Brandon Ayuk is probably deserving of a new deal as well. Also a first-round pick from the 2020 NFL draft class, like CeeDee Lamb, like Justin Jefferson. But San Francisco did draft at the end of this opening round, 31st overall, second to last pick in 2024, Ricky Pearsall out of Florida. He's going to open up camp on the injured list with a hamstring injury. Not exactly what you're hoping for the 49ers. More positive contract news. Amari Cooper, one of the more underrated wide receivers in the NFL in Cleveland, gets a raise. He reports to training camp, and Matthew Stafford gets a slightly restructured deal with the Rams, some more guaranteed money. He was there on the first day of training camp for LA as well.
And also, look, the whole Amari Cooper situation, it also fits in the same thing with Matthew Stafford. They didn't get new deals, but they're unhappy, and the team comes, hey, look, we don't know if we're going to extend or have the room this year to do that, but here's what I can do for you. Why don't I throw you more guarantees up front? We'll throw you a couple incentives that you can easily reach. You're going to make more money this year. Why don't you come into camp? We'll worry about this in the offseason. And most players are like, you know what? If I'm not going to get a new deal, this is the next best option. The same thing with Matthew Stafford. Hey, look, we can't commit to you for another 4 years on top of it and pay like the highest paid quarterback. Love you here. You know what? We can revisit this in the offseason. I don't want you to be angry as my quarterback here. What's it going to take? Meet me halfway. And that's what they did. That's smart franchises. Nobody wants to play hardball with your quarterback on the day before training camp, which is why it's so ludicrous for the Dallas Cowboys. And also, if you're looking from a Cincinnati perspective and say, hey, look, they played hardball with T and maybe he wasn't in their future plans, well, they could probably lean back and still think that they're going to be fine if T doesn't show up, because why? Jamar Chase probably will end up showing up. But if you're taking a look at the Dallas Cowboys, right, as compared to the San Francisco 49ers, if CeeDee Lamb never shows up, Dallas is cooked. And CeeDee Lamb knows that. That's why he's staying away from camp. And Jerry Jones is a football guy. He's going to be at those practices in Oxnard. The ball's going to be hitting the ground. Nobody's going to get wide open. And the fans are like, hey, Jerry, why don't you just pay CD so we can actually watch some good football? And it will happen sooner than later. But again, back to Stafford, back to Cooper. Meet them halfway. They'll show up and they'll be happy. Revisit it next offseason.
Hassan Reddick, as we shared with you yesterday, looking for a new contract after being traded from Philly to the Jets this offseason, has yet to sign that new deal, is holding out from training camp. Other news around the National Football League, Christian Darrisaw, the left tackle in Minnesota, big deal for the big man, 4-year, $113 million. Kadarius Toney, we're doing this again, gets reps at running back for Kansas City. Michael Gallup retiring from the National Football League after 6 seasons. But what I want to focus on, DRS, is Dan Quinn's comments, the new head coach of the Washington Commanders, on his rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels. I don't know if it's such football guy coach speak that's all it is, or it's a weird prophecy. Here's what Dan Campbell had to share with those local reporters outside of D.C. yesterday in terms of his rookie QB. Quote, so as we're going, when he's ready, we'll know. And when he's ready, he'll also know. End quote. What?
I don't know, man. Sometimes when you're a defensive coordinator, you might get excited because you're a head coach and you get to hang out with the offensive coordinator and sort of get in that meeting room. Hey, look, just worry about the defense. That quarterback's going to be just fine. Leave him alone. Let the OC handle him. Just stay out of the way. We don't need these cryptic comments from a defensive head coach. We don't need them.
That OC, by the way, Cliff Kingsbury now in Washington. Rhett Lewis was with us in our last segment. He's in Indy. He mentioned, speaking of Rutgers, Greg Schiano, the head coach for the Scarlet Knights yesterday, also an all-time football guy, quote, saying the two greatest thieves in life, the past and the future. We're so bad. Football guys in front of microphones. Come on, man. You couldn't want anything else here toward the end of July.